How does a lobster grow if it has a hard shell? A lobster is a soft, mushy animal that lives inside a rigid shell. That rigid shell does not expand. As the lobster grows, that shell becomes very confining. The lobster feels very uncomfortable and under pressure. It goes under a rock formation to protect itself from predatory fish. When it's time, it casts off its shell and produces one that's a better fit. Eventually, the shell becomes very uncomfortable again, and so it goes back under the rock to hide, shed a layer, and grow a new shell. The lobster repeats this numerous times throughout its life. The stimulus for the lobster to be able to grow is that it feels uncomfortable. Now, if lobsters had doctors, they would never grow, because as soon as the lobster feels uncomfortable, goes to the doctor, gets prescribed Valium, well then it feels fine and it never casts off its shell. So I think we have to realize that times of stress are signals for growth, and if we use adversity properly, we can grow through adversity to reach our full potential. Hi, I'm Jessica Disbrow, licensed social worker and registered psychotherapist in the state of Colorado, and I'm the owner and primary therapist of Higher Consciousness Healing. We offer mental health services to youth and adults here in Lakewood, Colorado. I'm really glad you're here to join our live video post. It's our third episode. We talk about different mental health topics here as it relates to spirituality and science, mainly evolution. I like to talk about a lot. So I'm really glad you're here, expanding your minds and all of that jazz. So I just wanted to remind everyone that I do want to take questions and comments during the show because there's kind of a lag time on video, on the live. I'm going to try and answer any pertinent questions during and then after. So I hope that sounds good with you guys. I'd really like to make this as interactive as possible. So today we're going to be talking about mindfulness techniques. So just to recap, last week we talked about why it's so important to be present, and it's because being present is all we have. We really don't have the past, we really don't have the future, we really just have right now. So in order to really make the best of right now, we have to really kind of turn down our reptilian mind that's making all of that chatter and anxiety and does a lot of thinking that it doesn't actually need to do and a lot of negative processing that it's not really serving us. So how do we kind of get that to turn off? Well, we use mindfulness techniques. I think they're the best. The first one that I want to teach, if you do want to get a pen and paper, now would be a good time because I'm going to be going through a variety of different techniques that you can start implementing yourself. A lot of these, you may have heard of, but I just think it's really good to recap and kind of, think about things on a different level. So, breathing, so important. It's like the best thing that we could possibly do because we can bring our breath everywhere we go because we're doing it all the time. So it's a really great technique to learn. So the breath work I'm going to teach today, it's going to trigger what's called the parasympathetic nervous system. That's the rest and digest response. So it's like the calm, peaceful state that we can be in. So the breath count is 4, 4, 8. So you breathe in for 4, you hold for 4, and then you exhale for 8. Now, I actually learned this at my yoga instructor training, and I really love the count. People do it a little bit differently. Some people do 2 counts, 4 counts. I've even heard 1 count, 2 counts. It's really about finding what's right for you. So you can kind of play around with it. But we're going to do one right now. We'll just inhale for 4, hold for 4, and exhale for 8. So, and hold, and exhale. One more time. In for 4, hold for 4, and exhale for 8. Awesome. So that's something that you can do at any time, when you're feeling stressed out and like your boss is in your face, or you have something else going on with your family members or something else stressful. That count is just amazing because you can do it whenever. And triggering that parasympathetic nervous response is really great, especially if you're having trouble sleeping or you're having trouble, a lot of anxiety. Doing breath work will really alleviate a lot of that, and it will set your body into that zone, so you don't even really have to necessarily get your mind into that zone. It's really about getting your body into it, and then your mind will kind of follow. So that's really nice. So some other techniques I wanted to talk about are sensing techniques. So sensing techniques are smell, touch, taste, sight, and sound. And I'm going to give an example of each of those. So smell is something that actually really triggers our brain and our memory responses. If you had like a memory from childhood that, maybe someone's house always smelled like white roses, and you smell white roses and it brings you right back. Our smell is like really sensitive, and it's a really great tool to start utilizing because it can really trigger some interesting awareness responses. So, smelling your food before you eat it, smelling the soap in the shower, different things like that to kind of get us thinking about what do things smell like, Touch is another really great one because, again, all of these are ones that you can use no matter where you are because it really just requires you to do it. So touch, like if you're in a meeting or something and you're really anxious because you have to give a presentation, maybe caress and like touch the paper, touch the pen in your hand, feel how it feels, because that sensitive, so sensitive. It's really great to help trigger those other senses. So taste is a great one. I'm going to talk a bit about mindful eating. I love this technique. And again, like we eat several times a day, we have snacks, we have drinks. Mindful eating is amazing because you really slow down and really smell, look, taste, touch it, I guess, with your tongue, or you can even poke at it if you want to. And really, really take it all in. And then when you do go to put it in your mouth, really savoring what that feels like, the texture, the temperature, all of the different flavor combinations. This will really help improve your cooking too if you're a cook, and just really let it soak all in, and think about like where the food came from and how it got on your plate, and being grateful that, you have the abundance that you do. Because a lot of people don't, have even options about what they eat. So we're pretty lucky here in America. So that's a really great one, mindfulness eating. The use of sight is really great. And now I'm not talking about necessarily like looking around, even though that can be helpful. If you're really stuck in your head, sometimes it is helpful to just be like, okay, I'm going to focus on things that are outside of me. I'm going to look around. And I'm going to look over here, and I'm going to see these things, and I'm going to focus on that. And I'm going to look over here, and I'm going to see these things, and I'm going to focus on that, instead of being so focused on in your head. Another great one, especially if you're working in a cubicle or if you're in some sort of like space that, doesn't have a lot of windows or nature, you can print out or, buy posters or things of like nature, beauty. So then when you do start feeling overwhelmed, especially, if you are in the office and that's a triggering place for you, putting those imagery so you can really sit down and just for a few minutes, really just look at that image and just picture yourself there. Maybe it's a lake with some mountains and maybe you're camping, and just really like imagine yourself being there and really loving your moment there, and bring that peace back into your present moment, and carry that with you throughout your day. So that's a really good one. And then the last one is music. Music is great. Music creates different vibrations, and we're all responding to those vibrations. So finding something that's really calm. Okay. So I was just talking about using sound as a mindfulness technique. And basically just, putting on music is really helpful, and just really listening to like every note, like really slowing down and really allowing each note, each different layer of music to really sink in and really like embody, maybe that's not quite the right word, but really absorb into yourself and, find that love and that peace that you're looking for. So sound can also be useful just listening to whatever is in the background. Like right now I'm hearing some birds. They sound really nice and happy. I'm hearing some traffic. So just kind of tuning into other senses is really helpful. So the last thing I wanted to talk about is through this process, it's really helpful to create a higher awareness, because as you start doing these mindfulness techniques, you might realize just how busy and just how negative your mind might be. And that's okay. Again, the reason why our brain is structured the way it is it's programmed through our different life experiences. It's programmed, through our society a lot of the times. All of those things really influence us deeply. So it's really about deprogramming ourselves, especially for people who grew up with a lot of negative messages about not being good enough, not being worthy enough. You might find yourself having a lot of that static noise. So it's really good to be patient and kind with yourself and create that higher awareness, because basically what you're doing is you're creating your higher consciousness, and that higher consciousness is going to kind of watch your lower consciousness. It's just going to watch it. It's not going to do anything about it. It's not going to beat up on it. It's not going to ridicule it. It's not going to criticize it. It's just going to give love and support. It's going to say, oh, I see how much you're hurting. I see that those things are going on. And I know that this is just because of your past experiences, and you can get past this. We can all get through this, and if you are struggling with something more serious, I would definitely recommend for you to seek professional counsel. And I'll definitely cover that in another episode. How do we know when to ask for help? How do we go about asking for help? All of those things are really important, and I'll definitely be covering that in a later episode. So creating that higher awareness, that higher mind, higher consciousness. All right. So next week we're going to be talking about self-love, because I just think it's so important. Self-love is, a big piece of this puzzle. So I really want to be talking a lot about that next week. So don't fret, if you're doing this mindfulness stuff and you're finding so many negative thoughts and so much this and so much that and so much worry and chaos, that's just kind of how our minds are. Obviously, if you have something more serious going on and it's preventing you from living your life, like going to work, going to school, getting enough sleep, eating properly, those are warning signs that you do need more serious help. So, but that's fine. We all have our journey to walk. So, I haven't seen any questions or anything, so I'm assuming that everything's pretty clear, which is good. And I'm just really excited to be sharing all of this information, because I really do think that it's vital to our evolution as humans and to bettering the planet and making our current situation, a lot better and more hopeful. So during the week, I'm going to be posting resources, more in-depth stuff about how to do mindfulness techniques and that sort of thing. I'll also be spreading the word on different topics as it relates to a little bit of self-love, which is next week. So Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this episode, please definitely remember it's still Mental Health Awareness Month, so I invite you to share the word with your friends and family on Facebook and social media. These episodes are being posted on YouTube as well, so we are having some problems with Facebook dropping the feed for some reason, so you'll have the full video available on YouTube, and then I'll always post it on my Facebook feed as well. So thank you so much for watching, and if you've been having trouble tuning into our live feeds, on my business page next to the like button, you click the following button. You can edit your notification settings and turn it on for all posts and all live posts, because a lot of people are trying to tune in to the show, or they want this information, they want the articles and resources that I'm posting during the week, but then they're not getting notified. So definitely make sure to change those notifications in that following setting next to the like button. All right, thank you so much for watching. I hope you take care. Thanks.